Hello everyone, welcome to an Unearthly Podcast's first mid-season break episode. I'm the Man in Black, and I have with me here the late, great Mad Matt, Ron Son, and Thomas Fireheart. An Unearthly Podcast is a Star's End production at starsend.net and fantasy and sci-fi loving news and reviews in association with Fireheart Inc. and Mad Matt Inc. at madmattinc.wordpress.com. With the Doctor on break, we've decided to take a look back at the start of our new Doctor with the 11th hour. In the 11th hour, the Doctor regenerates into Matt Smith, and we're introduced to his companions for the next two seasons. Karen Gillan's ass in a short faux police skirt, and that nurse guy with a camera phone. This leads to the arrest of an intergalactic criminal, and the Doctor establishing the show's history, his reputation, and his refusal to allow anyone to bully the Earth around.
To be honest, this is still one of my more favorite 11th Doctor episodes.
It's definitely in my, if not my favorite, then at the very lowest top 3 11th Doctor episodes for me.
Yeah, for me it might only be beaten out by the Doctor's wife, but that's about it.
True. Yes. Actually, I would say that out of all the regenerations we've had since the show restarted, this is probably one of the better ones I've seen too.
Are there
the other regenerations I'm kind of meh about?
Those with more classic Who experience, would you say there are any regenerations that are as good as or better than this? Because none of the ones I've seen have been, but I haven't
The regeneration between 3 and 4 was pretty epic.
It was pretty smooth.
Yeah, it was also fairly smooth, except that the 4th Doctor is a little jittery at first.
I don't find Robot to be that big of an epic.
But yeah, he did come out of it relatively quick.
He came out of it relatively quick and relatively amusing.
Mm-hmm.
And there was
the costume changing sequence. That was
that was the first time we'd actually seen the costume changing sequence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
With the 4th going out first dressed like a Viking. And the Brigadier and Harry Sullivan going, "Doctor, we are supposed to be a secret military agency. That might cause a bit of attention." And he comes out and he goes through 3 or 4 iterations. At one point, he's dressed like a freaking circus clown.
Mm-hmm.
How many Doctors skipped that montage? I know 8, 9, and I think 10 skipped it, right?
Let's see. Yeah.
9 skipped it. 8 had a little bit of a I'm pulling things together bit, but they never really showed him testing stuff.
Yeah, because that's about the same as 10, is the 10 wandering around there.
Mm-hmm.
7 had that same little montage where
7 had the same montage with a throwback to the 4th Doctor's outfit, which he called Old Hat.
I'm trying to remember the 6th. And that first episode of the 6th Doctor has always been a little hazy to me.
I like to hope that he was tortured and forced to put on that outfit.
I'm afraid not.
Actually, the actor was.
Yeah.
But
the actor has always said he hated that outfit.
I believe they did switch him out to a more blue outfit with a similar line work.
They only used that
and that was much better.
They only used that for 1 episode, and that was supposed to be because blue was Gallifreyan funeral colors.
For that episode, he was actually watchable.
Yeah, I think he chose that particular outfit himself and wouldn't be convinced otherwise because he was highly unstable coming out of that regeneration.
Oh, yeah.
The 5th was meandering around the TARDIS and found his outfit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he kind of found it up.
Main thing I remember about the 5th is that apparently there was outrage about his use of the 4th scarf.
Oh, yeah, he was pulling apart the scarf.
Yeah.
He unraveled that scarf, yeah.
And was walking around the TARDIS.
Yep.
And any fanboys just sitting there going, ah!
Let's see. We just talked about the fourth. The third, pretty much stole his outfit out of the hospital he was in.
So although he did put on a few hats.
I can imagine, because the third Doctor trying to fit in the second Doctor's clothes, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't work very well.
And that would make 3 doctors thus far that have gotten their costume out of hospitals. 3, 8, and 11.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh yeah, 2, 8, and 11. All of them got their stuff out of hospitals.
Yep. The second Doctor, I don't remember. He seemed to, I think he briefly changed his clothes in the wardrobe. But his clothes looked so much like
he kind of pulled stuff out and started putting a few things on.
Yeah, because his outfit was close enough to the first that you really couldn't tell that much.
Yeah, he just kind of put on a cloak, a hat, and I think he might have changed his shirt after a while.
And we never saw the premiere of the first Doctor, because apparently that was when he was born. So that's pretty much the Doctor's costuming in a nutshell. But no, I mean, in 11th Hour, he comes out of this relatively okay. I mean, yeah, steering's a bit off.
His steering's a bit off. Poof,
and every now and then he'd have a moment where he wasn't quite ready. But he manages to cope fairly well.
Except for the food bit.
That's my least favorite part of the entire episode.
I don't care for him constantly making a mess, although I thought the butter on bread was hilarious.
Yeah, the food bit was definitely intended as a comedy.
Also, he's like, bread on butter on bread. There we go. Also, you go outside, he tosses it, and you hear it smash. And don't dare come back!
I would say, and I kind of agree with this, except that I don't think it's a big deal in the context. The main criticism that I've seen of that montage is basically, oh, you're a girl, I'm going to tell you to cook, and you're going to cook.
You're Scottish. Try something.
I mean, I don't know if that would be seen as a negative stereotype or not, but that part kind of, it just, there's always something like that.
Yeah, take that.
I would kind of agree with the fact that, not many people can walk up to a however old she was girl and just be like, yeah, cook a bunch of stuff, and she can cook all of it and does not question at all.
Yeah, he was also fairly rude throughout most of that.
Until he finally found fish sticks and custard.
That's the kind of person the Doctor is. He's not.
This is Britain. This was happening in Britain, Matt. It's fish fingers.
Oh, fish fingers.
Mm. That's the kind of person the Doctor is. He's not ginger and he's rude.
That's true.
And
I don't know. It just fell a little flat to me on that. But once he got the stride going after that, I pretty much enjoyed the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
And the bit at the end of the episode, I'm the Doctor, basically run, is probably the most epic line we hear out of Matt Smith. Barring maybe the Pandorica speech at the end of that same series.
Especially the part where it basically scrolls through the first 10 Doctors and then he just walks through it, finally having decided on a tie. He's finally become
got the jacket on. Yeah, he's in his outfit.
Oh yeah, I wanted to mention that part. I think that's the first time they've done any sort of backwards montage to look at previous Doctors. Since the 5th Doctor.
No, it's not. I think there was some mentioned in the next Doctor, I think.
No. There's. There was a few quick images, I think, maybe.
There was also references to previous Doctors in Human Nature / Family of Blood. The Book of Impossible Things had the faces.
I thought everything in the next Doctor showed Tennant.
I could be wrong there. I don't own those.
I don't have that
in a while.
Because the whole thing was he actually thought that he was David Tennant's Doctor. He said Alonzi and everything.
Mm-hmm. No, but I know, like I said, I was correcting myself. Where there was previous Doctor stuff coming up was in the Book of Impossible Things in Human Nature, Family of Blood. The book in there had several drawings which included faces of previous Doctors.
Yeah, but that's not like actually having real live moving images of them, though, now is it? Compared to the actual moving video that they had of the Doctors with the eye making that projection.
True, but it was still a throwback reference. That's what I'm saying.
Mm.
The fact that it was a moving picture montage as opposed to drawings, still, I don't consider that to be significant enough. But, yeah, prior to that, there had been no continuity showing the previous Doctors since, I think, Resurrection of the Daleks. And before that, there was a montage in Earthshock.
Earthshock was the one with the Fourth Doctor?
Yeah. Fifth Doctor.
No, it was Fifth Doctor. It was the one where Adric died, but it was the Cybermen reviewing the history of their encounters with the Doctor. So there was the first, the second, the fourth. You notice the third never actually faced the Cybermen until the Five Doctors.
Yeah.
Huh.
The last, it went from Invasion at the end of the second Doctor to Revenge of the Cybermen, which was like the second or third serial of the fourth.
Which is the one that showed the extra faces?
That was
Mind of Mobius?
yeah, Brain of Morbius.
Brain of Mobius.
That's where they were playing mind benders, and it went through the known Doctors into like 3 previous faces, which were all Doctor Who writers and producers at the time.
And made people go, what?
Although,
I think the fans have basically established that was a bit of side misdirection on the Doctor's part.
yeah, I was going to say, we know that they're not extra incarnations because he often specifically refers to himself as my such and such incarnation. So if anything is accurate, it would have to be the whole quote-unquote Cartmel master plan.
Mm-hmm. But no, it was just, I think they needed to fill space in that one, so they put their own faces in there.
Or they just wanted
that was also
that
was also I think before they established that the Doctor could only have 12 regenerations, i.e. 13 lives.
Yeah, that was just before they decided to actually do that.
That's okay. They're going to throw that one out the window anyway.
And I'm sure if they put that on DVD when they touch things up,
hoping they'll explain it away. Although if Moffat's still in charge when they have to, probably not.
And I would assume that if they do release that episode on DVD when they do touch-ups, which they occasionally do, they'll probably edit out those extra images. Just to go, not here, hand wavy. It's all disappeared. Continuity is back again. Yay!
Makes me wonder if Peter Jackson, after he's done with making the Hobbit trilogy, is going to go back and Lucas up the original Lord of the Rings, because apparently that's now the common thing to do. Let's go back.
I think he was satisfied.
I think
he did the theatrical cuts and the extended cuts. I think he's fine.
That's what I see when I see these special edition Doctor Who DVDs. It's just like, no.
As long as they don't take away units' guns and replace them with walkie-talkies.
Yeah, as long as they don't really do something extremely stupid, I don't have too much of a problem with it. I think the only one I actually had any problem with is Earthshock. They tried adding better laser beam effects, but then whenever they showed up, the screen got darker.
Well, you know,
like, no.
Yeah, and let me have my original cheesy effects, please.
Yeah, it's like if you can't do it right without
the
video, I want to have that option to have the original footage.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing about the Star Wars DVDs that I have, is that 9 times out of 10 I will always pick the second disc with a theatrical cut on it. And then 1 time out of 10 that I want to use the DVD version.
I have the exact same box set. I guarantee you I will not do anything other than play the theatrical cuts. It's kind of like the Ninja Turtles 3. You don't open that. You don't even touch it. Don't even try your best not even to look at the disc.
Sometimes I watch it just to compare, what effects are different, and
it's not there. I can't see it.
Yeah, it's kind of I get afraid when they start trying to retcon history.
Well, I can, for the case of Brain Morbius, I can understand them erasing those couple of extra clips just for the sake of saving continuity.
But then you're retconning history, and once you make that justification, it becomes a lot easier to make further edits. Once you've crossed that line, it becomes easier to cross again.
Yeah.
I prefer to have my DVDs in the original televised format. My only exception to that is the color reconstructions being done for the Third Doctor episodes that were lost.
Mm-hmm.
That's recreating what was lost, not changing what was already there.
You think if they came out with a DVD of first and second Doctor episodes that were colored in, you'd watch it?
No. I would want them in the original black and white.
Even the animated stuff for the Invasion is black and white.
Of course, then again, if you colored everything, then you'd end up, all of a sudden, the chase would have multicolored Daleks with no explanation.
Yeah. I'll save my discussion on multicolored Daleks for victory when we do that in the second half. But
no. The other generation of multicolored Daleks.
Yes. I'm pretty sure it's the same reaction most of you have. Yeah. What's that?
I was gonna say, what does that have to do with Peter Cushing's Daleks?
No, it's just my comment on them. Generally, I cannot look at any multicolored Daleks now without thinking that, thanks to Victory.
So, in the 11th hour, anybody else think it's interesting that the first plot device that we see is the TARDIS about to explode, considering the way the rest of the season goes?
Yeah, I never really looked at it that way, because the TARDIS starting to explode was kind of taken off from RTD's end there at the end of the Tennant run.
Mm-hmm.
So he wrote that ending, and Moffat just kind of picked up the ball and ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do notice, paying attention today, as I was rewatching that the TARDIS didn't look as badly damaged at the beginning of the 11th hour as it did coming out of End of Time Part 2. I mean, when the Doctor did the regeneration explodey bit there, he shattered windows and stuff. And it didn't look like it had any shattered windows when I was seeing it hurtling through at the beginning of the episode.
I had to watch End of Time Part 2 again, so it was basically a full-on quickening then.
Oh god, yeah. It was regeneration exploded, windows shattered with the force of the blow. His regeneration cut the hanging cord that we'd seen for the entire run up the top of the TARDIS. One of the little spiral pillars fell down. Yeah, he wrecked shit on that.
So Matt Smith is the Highlander?
Yeah, that just gives me the mental image of Matt Smith just starting up and looking around confused, and you just hear this voice going, "Give me the prize, bitch!" And they're Kurgan with a freaking sword.
Although, honestly, I want to see an episode with David Tennant in his original accent with Sean Connery.
And them trying to out-Scottish each other?
Or even like a special non-canon episode featurette thing where they're basically like, oh, the Highlanders are actually just Time Lords that were trapped on Earth for such and such amount of time.
That would explain why Sean Connery never showed up again after number 2.
Be careful, Doctor. Some Time Lords don't react too well to bullets.
I've been shot 5 times today. Oh god! Did Sean Connery jump off that boat? But anyway,
another thing that kind of sets up the entire series 5 is the way the Doctor handles the Atraxi. The whole I'm the Doctor thing. That's basically a series 5 staple. He sees a problem. His solution is to yell his name at it and see if that fixes it.
Yes, but the fact that he did it so epically, and really, I have been watching
in this episode or in general. Are you saying the whole series? Or
in this episode in particular?
This episode, definitely.
In this particular way, I mean, I had been watching Matt Smith. When I'd seen him recast at the end of Time, I'd seen, pictures of his new outfit when, the episode hadn't aired yet. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Bill Nye, Doctor Guy.
See, I was really thrown off by Matt Smith appearing because I was watching this in Netflix order, and the specials are as a separate thing on Netflix. So basically, I watched, Journey's End, and then all of a sudden, the 11th Hour, and I was like, "What the fuck just happened?"
No, I was watching them as they aired because I'm the raving fanboy that I have been forever. But no, so I'd been seeing all this stuff, all the promo release. I'm like, I don't know too much about Smith, mind you. Rewind 3-4 years, and I was saying the same thing about David Tennant after, the Chris Eccleston run, and Tennant regenerated, and I'm just like, I don't know, it looked like his face was made of plastic.
I remember my sister kept telling me that he played Barty Crouch in Goblet of Fire, and I was just sitting there like, wait a second, I'm like, I couldn't remember Barty Crouch appearing as something other than Mad-Eye Moody in that entire movie.
Yeah, it's at the very end, and there's a cut scene where you see him on trial. Mm-hmm. And
he appears like once or twice before then as well, but it's like extreme, like only for like a few seconds.
Yeah, it's like I would kind of, I would consider that a bit role, but I guess as people love David Tennant so much that they, ascribe importance to it.
Yeah, but it's also very good to notice because that really shows the range that Tennant has. Because he played that role, and he played that role dark.
I mentioned this. I mentioned this when we were just talking on Skype, but I was shocked when I was on IMDb and I realized that the drunken vampire slayer in the Fright Night remake was David Tennant, and I was just like,
oh yeah,
I would not have made that connection. I mean, I watched Fright Night when it came out.
Yeah, see, I know about the fact that he's in that movie. The thing is, I'm a fan of the original version of that movie. And I already know that the fact that it's a remake, it's not going to be that good. Even if David Tennant tried to save it, it's not going to save it.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I haven't seen the remake, but based on reviews that I haven't seen the original, but based on reviews that I've seen, I have a feeling that I would like both the original and the remake pretty much equally.
The original. I'm trying to remember the actor who played the original. He played Cornelius.
They did play that character completely differently, and so that there wouldn't be the trap of.
I can't remember the actor's name. The guy who originally played the same character as Roddy McDowall. No, wait.
Yeah, but they basically took that character. Whoever was writing the script realized they're not going to be able to make the same character without people tearing the movie apart. So they basically gave him the same name, but they played it completely differently.
They did their own spin on it, which is better to do for remakes than trying to recreate the original.
Yeah.
As long as you do it sanely. Let that be a lesson to you out there. If you're ever watching this, Tim Burton, when doing a remake of something that already exists and putting your own spin on it, let's not go 3 sheets to the wind like you did with, say, Planet of the Apes and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Darkest. That's
And
another horrible remake.
Roald Dahl's family actually prefers the Tim Burton version because it's apparently closer to the book or something.
Yeah, well, I think they're a little...
Or something like that anyway.
Well, Roald Dahl, I can never say his name right, hated the musical version because the book was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and they made it Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory and made the story more about Willy Wonka.
Yeah,
well, actually, that's kind of the weird thing. The thing that I've noticed is it's actually kind of the opposite. It's like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is kind of actually more about Charlie, but Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is more about Willy Wonka. I actually agree with you.
I was going to actually say,
that's what the Nostalgia Critic said too when he did the old versus new, I think.
Yeah. That's actually one of the few things the Nostalgia Critic I actually watched.
What I actually found funny is,
but this is what Dahl was on record of saying about Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, was that it's supposed to be a book about Charlie and they made it about Willy Wonka. Then 2000, whatever came out, Tim Burton does the remake and makes it even more about Willy Wonka, while still calling it Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I'm like, what the hell?
Well, I guess in his case, he just wanted to call it that because it was the title of the book, rather than trying to come off of that. It's
points.
Now, I didn't mind Burton's remake of Alice in Wonderland or his continuation story, because Alice in Wonderland is fucked up enough.
Well, yeah, if anything, I think they really should have subtitled that Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass.
Yeah.
Because that's, from what I haven't actually read either book, but from what the vibe I got was that's what it was supposed to be, basically.
No, it was really its own.
Or like a bit of both.
It was really its own thing. It was kind of weird, but still.
It just jumped
Lewis Carroll is weird.
Tangent.
Yeah, Lewis Carroll is weird, so it didn't bother me that it was weird. But we're off track now.
Rewinding.
But no, my thing is, like I was saying, for the going into watching the 11th Hour the first time when it first aired in 2010, I wasn't sure about Smith. I wasn't sure I'd like him. I will admit, I'm a Tennant fanboy. I loved David Tennant's portrayal of the Doctor. Even if the writing wasn't as good as it could have been, especially with the RTD episodes, I loved the way Tennant portrayed the Doctor.
Absolutely.
And then he's replaced by Smith, who I wasn't sure about. I'd heard all this stuff about him being so young and, all this other stuff. And so I'm going through this episode, originally watching it with a sense of trepidation. Is this how Tennant would have done it? Is this not how Tennant would have done it? Is Smith actually going to pull this off? And then we got to that epic I am the Doctor speech. And I relaxed. Because it was such a moment of awesome. I'm like, okay, he can do this.
And
it was at that point that he was established as the Doctor to me. And they needed that.
I wonder if this was their own thought too, because it really would have made sense for even, David Tennant's Doctor even, to just show up when he hacked that conference call, to just be like, I'm the Doctor, yes, it's a new face again. All right, here's the plan. But he didn't. So I'm wondering if it's because he was regenerating and wanted to earn their trust separately and didn't expect that, everyone to recognize him as a Doctor yet, or if it was just
that. But if you notice the list of names on there's nobody that would have known him directly.
Yeah.
With the exception of the one person he mentioned, what's his face? The brain's dying on me suddenly. The one person they mentioned by name. The one that wanted to hit on the old lady.
I know.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
I forget the name, but I know
I would have to go back and watch if there were names dropped. But that first episode with the Slovene, I forget its name. I imagine that some of the same people would have been in that conference.
Not that I said no, because everybody in that conference died.
This is true. Okay, you're right.
Right. They all got fried to death. So that's that.
Yeah, so nobody in that conference would have been in that call. But there were the names there were some of the top scientific institutes in the world.
Which means that at least some of them would have been like, oh, the Doctor? I have an idea who that is.
I mean, but we're not dealing with organizations like UNIT and Torchwood. Mm-hmm. I was surprised that there was no UNIT representative there. I mean, big aliens, hacking every speaker in the world to announce this shit. You'd think UNIT would have been all over this.
The first time UNIT was even mentioned was what, the Centauran stratagem?
No. You mean in the new series?
Yeah.
First
no.
time they mentioned was, I think, the third episode.
The first time they were mentioned was Aliens in London, World War III.
Oh, yeah. Oh no! You're saying in the 11th hour you're surprised there was no UNIT rep.
Yes, that there was no UNIT reference in that conference call. Like I said, aliens hacking all the speakers, announcing that the world would be destroyed. You'd think UNIT would be all over that.
You'd think Torchwood would too.
Yeah, but Torchwood had been pretty much destroyed.
Actually, yeah, Torchwood might not have existed. It might have just been Gwen.
Yeah, so I was not surprised to not see Torchwood because they were all hiding at that point.
Then again, Torchwood 2 should still be around.
Technically, I don't think so. I know the Miracle Day hadn't occurred.
2?
What?
How much do we know about Torchwood 2?
Isn't it just an old guy in Scotland? I think.
I seem to remember seeing that on a fan-made comic somewhere, but I don't remember seeing that in.
No, it was a reference that was made. It was either made in the first episode of Torchwood, or it was referenced in one of the other Doctor Who episodes.
Oh, okay.
But it's an actual canon reference. Because let's see, Torchwood 1 was Canary Wharf. Torchwood 2 was this warehouse in Scotland that was run by an old guy. Torchwood 3 was Cardiff.
Right.
And then Torchwood 4 had vanished.
Oh, it's described. Everything changes. What was that? Was that a Torchwood episode or?
I think so. Yes.
Oh yeah, I think that might have been the first Torchwood episode.
I think it was. Yes.
Yep, the first episode of Torchwood. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I remembered the reference, and I remember hearing it coming out of Jack's mouth, so I knew it was not from a fiction work. But yeah, I was surprised they weren't mentioned in that call. So you're dealing with just regular research scientists and physicists.
Yeah, we're not talking about big brass alien hunter peoples.
So we're not talking. So the "Hello, I'm the Doctor" would have come up with, of course, the constant Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So I think
at
this point, he just established the fact that he's a frickin' genius,
right,
and said, "This is what we're going to do."
Mm.
And now I'm going to leave you to this guy to take care of it while I go take care of the rest of things.
It was
and
wipe your
internet cache. Yeah.
Wipe out your internet history.
Actually, I have to say this is something you only look at at least I only see it in retrospect, but it's actually nice to see the Doctor actually writing that virus, because most of New Who, especially the Tennant era, he probably would have just pointed his screwdriver at the phone and said, there's a computer virus.
Yeah. it's part of the fact that the sonic screwdriver has gone completely and totally. I mean, you thought it was they got rid of it during the Fifth Doctor era because they thought it made the Doctor overpowered. It's always kind of
now the screwdriver is so overpowered that it's got to make their own fake reasons to make it not work.
I wouldn't be surprised if the series premiere for Series 8 starts with the screwdriver being destroyed without the TARDIS regenerating it for him.
Yeah, the problem is the fact that that's the problem, is the TARDIS can apparently make new ones.
Yeah, that confused me when I watched that. I was like, wait a minute. Doesn't he usually, make it himself or something?
Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured it was based somewhat on TARDIS technology.
Is this the first time we've ever heard of the TARDIS regenerating? Has that ever happened before?
Yeah, we've never really heard it as the TARDIS regenerating before. I mean, he'd always call it remodeling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that's something else I would like to clear up to the fan base that is listening, because I do read Doctor Who fan fiction, and there's a line that Matt Smith says as he's crawling out of the TARDIS to young Amelia Pond, and that is the fact that he mentions he was in the library. Why are you wet? I was in the swimming pool. I thought you said you were in the library. So was the swimming pool. Ladies and gentlemen, that does not mean that the swimming pool was physically located within the library.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Going around, flipping around, doing everything. All the water from the swimming pool drained out and apparently wound up in the library.
Where he also.
I was going to say, that's what I was thinking.
You're right in your fiction.
Well, I also figured the TARDIS was on its side and burning. It's entirely possible that the swimming pool physically fell down the hallway with the gravity not working properly and landed in the library.
No, the TARDIS swimming pool was actually a recessed indoor swimming pool like you would find at a rec center.
Yeah. I believe we saw it during the Fourth Doctor, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, but that was ejected.
The TARDIS was remodeled at least once between the TV movie and the Tennant era, because it's a completely different console room and everything, so it could have been moved around. And
yeah, but I doubt they would have gone from having a nice set-up swimming pool to a stand-up swimming pool like you would have in your backyard.
Yeah. I don't think he would downgrade the pool.
So I've always taken that to mean that the water drained into the library. And then
that's what I thought as well.
Now, the thing is, I have actually read fiction work where they're talking about this huge library with a swimming pool in the middle. No, that's stupid.
Why would you have a pool in a library anyway?
I could kind of picture David Tennant doing the backstroke while reading a book.
Yes, but you still do not want to put the swimming pool directly in the middle of your library so that when your TARDIS gets shaken, all the books fall off the library shelves and land in the swimming pool. That's called bad design.
I think some people might have been tricked by the fact that he also brings it up again as a joke at the end of the episode. Like, maybe it's like, oh, don't worry, there's plenty of clothes in the wardrobe and maybe a swimming pool.
Yeah,
it's like as a joke. Yeah, it's like it's meant as a joke, but people might have taken that a bit seriously or something.
Yeah, there's several things
part of the whole thing. That's I think one of the main things with this Doctor is that you can't necessarily tell what's serious and what's a joke because.
Yeah, do remember there was the toss-out line he made in the Sarah Jane Adventures on how many times can you regenerate, and he said this obscenely large number. And a lot of the fan base took that as canon, and it was just him being facetious.
Like, it could be now, considering he is the Lord President of the Time Lords.
By default.
Yes, but he was also... I mean, when he was given all that knowledge and powers and such as the Fourth Doctor, did they ever do something to take it away, or did he still retain all of it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they elected a new president.
Right, but they
Flavia.
Sucked the information back out of him, or what?
No, that knowledge, he didn't, it wasn't a mass download of knowledge. With the Coronet of Rassilon, he was able to connect to the Matrix. And he could get information from the Matrix. Problem is, the Matrix is gone now. So is Gallifrey.
True, but I imagine he would have soaked in enough knowledge from having access to it.
It's not like a global download, Bill.
No, but I'm thinking even if it was like Wikipedia, you would still absorb massive amounts of information every time you click on it. Especially
not really.
It's bigger on
because
the inside.
Basically the Matrix contained the souls of all the living Time Lords. Basically, you would meditate, go into the Matrix, find the data pattern of whichever Time Lord you want to talk to, and actually ask him. The Doctor really didn't spend much time doing that, and besides, all that knowledge, all that time he had, that was wiped. Technically, at the end of that episode when he used the DMAT gun.
So it was more
he woke up, he could remember none of it.
So it was more kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender than anything else.
Kind of. Actually, that's a good approximation. I hadn't thought of it that way.
If anything, the main thing I liked about this episode too is the fact that the Doctor's like, oh crap, I don't have a TARDIS, I don't have a sonic screwdriver, I've got to do this on my own, and he still like forces himself to believe, yeah, I can still do this.
Although there's a point, there's a point he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, that was a major selling point of the episode. They're like, hey, how are we going to sell this episode? Oh yeah, 20 minutes, no screwdriver, no TARDIS, go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's
still. It's too bad they didn't follow on with that by downplaying the screwdriver, but oh well.
It's even worse. It's even worse than you mentioned because it's 20 minutes, no TARDIS, no screwdriver, and I'm still cooking. I'm not done yet.
Yes, but
I'm not on all thrusters.
That doesn't necessarily affect his efficacy because it seems to me a Doctor who has no idea who he is will do things that will help him succeed that he might not normally have thought to do when he was finished cooking and was fully sane. At this point, he's insane. You don't know what he's going to do, and whatever it does, it's going to be bad for whoever's against him. He was still looking at it as it was a minus because there's one point I'm not ready for this. I'm not done. Yeah, that's what's going through the Doctor's mind. Is it's 20 minutes.
I have no TARDIS, no screwdriver, and I'm not done yet.
Like generally, the Doctor seems to be more audacious when he doesn't know who he is. He's like, who are you? I don't know yet. Maybe you'll tell me. Maybe I'll defeat you. Who knows?
That's more Tennant's thing. Really, we've never really seen that from any other Doctor. I mean, we had Baker, who showed up, acted odd a bit, was about ready to just pop off and go someplace else at the TARDIS. They try to lure him with
I don't know
mystery.
enough about Colin Baker's Doctor to be able to compare that to the Sylvester McCoy regeneration, because that's the most recent one that I've seen.
He wasn't really saving the universe using his audaciousness. He was just freaking unstable.
You're saying, but I mean, basically, I don't know necessarily how different Time in the Rani was from 6th Doctor SOP.
Well, okay, Time of the Rani was the 7th Doctor, not the 6th Doctor.
No, that's what I mean. But I mean, it was.
And technically,
post 6th Doctor going into the 7th.
His post regeneration problem was basically, that was a nice snap. Now down to business. And pretty much, he had everything set up through what was, he had everything planned out for what he was going to do for the next week or so. And then it's like, and just one question: where am I? Who am I? Who are you? And then immediately his brain kicked into gear. It's like, the Rani. He didn't have any further problems until the Rani injected him with an amnesia drug.
Right.
And then he became more melancholy.
Yeah, there was that part, maybe this is who I am now. I sulk all day.
Yeah, but he was mostly being pissy. He was mostly just sulking. I wouldn't say he was saving the world with his sulk. Or any other world, for that matter. What?
It would be an excellent tagline, though.
I do find it funny, though, how everyone else sort of has that little moment of, hey, that's your imaginary friend from when you were a kid, Amy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that particular episode.
Speaking of which, you know who ruined that? Stephen Moffat wrote "Let's Kill Hitler," didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
So he ruined that part of this episode, because when "Let's Kill Hitler" comes around, we realize, hey, Amy and Rory had a friend their entire life who could do nothing but talk about the Doctor.
Yeah, that's one thing about Let's Kill Hitler. Well, there's many things I didn't like about Let's Kill Hitler. Yes, it was written by Stephen Moffat, by the way. And the fact that the whole Mel being just added in there ad hoc was just one massive handwave retcon. Yeah, and it never made any sense to me. It pretty much is a living explanation of my entire problem with Stephen Moffat's writing. It uses great amounts of hand-wavium.
So did RTD.
Yeah, but RTD's hand-wavium was mostly to come up with a solution to the episode, not to establish it.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you count the Dalek Emperor surviving.
That, though,
actually,
they actually kind of explained that, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, that they at least kind of sort of tried to explain. It wasn't just hand-waving.
Yeah,
we have an explanation.
He actually said, that he managed to flee through time, and hid. How he did so, we don't know, but it was actually addressed. If that same episode had been written by Moffat, the Dalek Emperor just would have been there, no explanations.
Yeah.
That's the difference between RTD and Moffat. That's why I keep saying that RTD at least tries to establish self-continuity.
That's why I keep saying if the Master appears again, he's just going to be there, and they're going to leave it to the novel crowd or the comic crowd, one of the two, to figure out why.
Yeah, and that's a big problem I have with Moffat's writing.
Which makes me go with the angry, the evil monkey finger pointing.
Yeah, it's just I don't like the writing like that. It annoys the hell out of me. Because if something shows up that's not supposed to exist, I want it explained why it's there.
Mm.
It's my problem with Asylum of the Daleks.
Yeah.
Yeah, as mentioned in our first podcast.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the many problems that we have with Moffat being the head. He doesn't want to explain.
Yeah, and
it's just irritating.
So,
it just eats at me.
I have another point of interest to bring up. I kind of wish Flynn was here because he does a lot of research and might have come across something. But the similarities between the 11th and 2nd Doctor, especially in the outfit, I'm kind of wondering how intentional
it's just a general thing. And
actually,
Matt Smith is a fan of the 2nd Doctor.
Actually, when Matt Smith got the role, he had never seen an episode of Doctor Who in his life.
I don't think he even knew what Doctor Who was.
Yeah, I think they gave him a copy of Tomb of the Cybermen and said, "Here, watch this."
Actually, apparently his parents and his grandparents are longtime fans of Doctor Who.
Yeah, but that was basically his performance in Tomb of the Cybermen, or another 2nd Doctor episode, was what he used to establish who the Doctor was. And so that's why a lot of 11 is based off of 2.
Mm.
I've actually seen this in interviews. So.
If anything, I've always found his outfit kind of funny, where he's the youngest actor to ever play the Doctor, but he dresses like he's an 80-year-old.
Yeah.
He dresses like...
Which I guess sort of, yeah.
I think isn't he dressing like the oldest actor to have played the Doctor?
The second oldest person to play the Doctor.
Yeah, the Doctor's dress has always been a little...
Geriatric?
No, not the word I'm looking for.
Unusual?
No, means not fitting within this time. You'll have to excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Anachronistic, thank you. You'll have to excuse me, I'm running on 4 hours of sleep.
So, how does that describe the 6th Doctor?
There are exceptions. The 8th Doctor, the 10th Doctor, and the 6th Doctor's outfit would be vaguely anachronistic if it wasn't look like he had stolen it from a patchwork quilt convention.
Actually, really, I can see that. It looks like
It looked like the 6th Doctor just punched a guy out in the street during the 80s and ripped off his jacket.
No.
And then
we didn't wear anything that. It was even bad taste for the 80s, Matt.
No, I think he would have dressed more like Eccleston.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not, but...
If anything, I could actually see 6th Doctor's outfit working in maybe the 60s or something like that. Probably not even then, but yeah.
But if you look at the basics of the 6th Doctor's outfit, he had the droopy tie that was very similar to what the 1st Doctor wore, waistcoat, jacket over waistcoat, trousers, and spats on his shoes. So it was an anachronistic outfit. It was just incredibly loud.
Which is kind of what 80s fashion was.
And it was, but it was even loud for the 80s. I've seen interviews on that outfit.
It is pretty loud for even the 80s, but
it was even, they had to keep sending the wardrobe creator back with the outfits because they weren't in bad taste enough. It was deliberately designed to be bad taste because it's supposed to be...
When you think about it, though...
Wasn't there a whole thing about...
Okay, Bill, you go.
Okay, sorry. Wasn't there a whole thing about different parts of the creative team were each trying to set a new mood for the 6th Doctor, and some were like, "Oh, it needs to be loud and garish and happy or whatever," and then they were like, "Well," and then we make his attitude darker and.
No, that wasn't. There wasn't different aspects of the production team. This was all coming from Nathan Turner.
I see.
Yeah, that was all Nathan Turner. It's all his fault.
Because he was the one that basically standardized that the Doctor had a uniform, so to speak, which started with the 4th Doctor when he went to all maroon. And then the Fifth Doctor's cricket outfit. When it came to the Sixth Doctor, it was like, oh, the Sixth Doctor's supposed to be unstable. His choice should be poor. I want this to be in bad taste. And that's what was sent to the costume designer. Was that the suit had to be...
It is funny, though, the most 80s thing of all of that stuff that I've seen seems to just be Ace's jacket.
I like Ace's jacket.
I do, but I agree.
Like that, that does seem to be the most actual. You could actually pull that out of the '80s
Although
thing.
Actually, I would like to see. Ace
I had a jacket
around
just
I've
like
seen.
that. Only mine was festooned with armed forces patches that I got from my father.
I would like to see Ace carrying around a boombox, though.
She did. In Remembrance of the Daleks. And that got destroyed in Remembrance of the Daleks.
Oh.
And the Doctor's
Even
like, it's a
Daleks.
good thing, too. Because that's a transistor thing, and we're in 1963. So imagine if any of this technology had survived and gotten in the hands of the scientists of this time, and the computer revolution would take place decades too early. And fuck up the timeline.
Wibbly wobbly.
Mm-hmm. No, this was an actual lecture that Sylvester McCoy's Doctor made to Ace.
Oh, I think I don't know about classic Who, but I know in the new series every time he literally uses the words wibbly wobbly, they're written by Moffat.
Well, yeah,
Crash and
they
Blink were both Moffat episodes, and then he says it again in 11th Hour.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna just bring that up.
It actually
Like,
came up
just
a few
randomly
other times,
said
I thought. But the original use of it was Moffat, and he's brought it up a lot more in the new series because he likes it.
Well, I guess it is a sort of funny way to explain away.
And then he does a whole episode about time being fixed.
Yeah, he's, like I said, Moffat continuity, what the fuck. Continuity fail. I personally go with the wibbly wobbly theory because I like it.
Speaking of the Sixth Doctor, going off what we were talking about before with the remastered DVD. Or wait, was this during the podcast or before the podcast?
I think this
it was during the podcast because I remember it was a sidetrack.
Okay, that's good. If they remastered a Sixth Doctor DVD and he was only wearing the blue outfit instead of the multicolored one,
I would still be pissed.
Yeah,
I would consider it an improvement.
You would consider it an improvement, Matt. I would still be pissed because they're changing. They're changing the production. They're changing the values. If there was a way of turning it off so he was wearing the original loud outfit, I wouldn't mind.
Which usually they are.
Yeah, but whenever they release something,
BBC
I want
has
to
been
have
actually really good about that. You can usually turn it off.
Yes, as long as they can do that, I don't care. But when you were mentioning it earlier, Matt, you were talking about editing out those extra faces, which would be something that would not be able to be edited out.
Well, what they could do was like if they do the different camera angles thing so that you can switch while you're watching. If they just stretched out, like let's say each face had 1 second, they would just if they just took the other faces and added a fourth of a second to them, you could kind of just fill up the same amount of time with those faces having been edited out.
Yeah, but you would still have to have that on a separate layer on the DVD. That's just if they could do it so that I could still watch my original theatrical version with those extra faces, I'm fine with that. But if they changed it and made that change permanent, then I get pissed.
Okay. Back to the original point. Do you know who you guys said that they gave Matt Smith a second Doctor DVD to base his knowledge off of? Do you know where that came from?
I read it or heard it in an interview somewhere.
Do you know was it like Stephen Moffat gave it to him, or
I don't know who gave it to him. No. I think I remember him saying I was given.
Right. Like I just imagine it would be some sort of conscious decision by.
I don't know if it was a conscious decision by him or if it was a conscious decision by his parents.
It could have been by his parents or
whether it was by the BBC or by his parents. But I just still find it interesting that both the personality and the outfit both kind of match the second Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So I
but yeah, his apparently his
Something
folks are fans, so I wouldn't be surprised if they gave him a second Doctor thing.
Either that, or he pretty much just went out and grabbed a title at random from a movie store.
Or maybe he turned around.
Like, this one sounds interesting. Let's watch this.
Or maybe or it's also possible like he was casted, watched some episodes with the second Doctor, and said, "Hey, I want to do something like that," and they're like, "Oh, okay, let's make an outfit that matches."
That kind of matches, but isn't exactly the same.
Yeah, I don't know whose decision that was. I don't know if he actually got input into his outfit or not.
Yeah, they don't even really cover that, and we don't know for sure because there's no more Doctor Who Confidential.
It was supposed to be coming back, but...
Yeah, because there was a huge outcry when they went away. The BBC was not prepared for that amount of negative feedback.
We want to know who's to blame.
We love our Confidential. The problem is, and I think why they were talking about ending it, is there's only so many times you can cover the same thing. You know?
Right. But then again, how long was the Confidential episode? Like 5 minutes, or?
No, they were 30 minutes
15,
They were 30 minutes in England. They were chopped down to 15 minutes for the domestic release.
Oh, okay. Because what I saw on YouTube was only like 5-minute clips then. Because I was like, if they were only like 5 minutes each, and it'd just be like, there's no reason they can't come up with something every episode.
No, they were full 30-minute episodes. Then they started with the first series. They ran, I think, what was it, through the 5th or through the 6th?
Yeah, I could see how that could be an issue. Or if if they made it monthly, like if Doctor Who was being aired weekly and they made the Confidentials monthly, it'd be easier to fill it up.
Yeah, but the BBC doesn't work their schedule that way. Confidentials were aired on BBC 3 following the episode run.
Right.
So it was like you would watch the episode on BBC 1, switch over to 3, and watch the Confidential. It's just the fact that, when the Daleks showed up, they would cover the Daleks and the history of the Daleks throughout the series. Cybermen showed up, they did the same thing. When the Masters showed up, they did the same thing. When Davros showed up, they did the same thing. They
basically had a 3-hour weekly block of Doctor Who programming.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it got even worse when you added in the Sarah Jane Adventures and Torchwood and Totally Doctor Who.
An hour of Doctor Who, an hour of Torchwood. What was Sarah Jane Adventures? 30 minutes or an hour?
30 minutes.
30 minutes and then 30 minutes of Confidential. So basically a 3-hour block if they were all aired on the same day.
They were not aired at the same day. In fact, usually the Doctor Who production team was all the same for the 3 shows. Well, I mean, not the writers, but the core behind-the-scenes guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know RTD wrote at least 2. At least
that's because he was the head writer for all 3 shows. Yeah. But I mean, the per episode writers were not the same, and the per episode directors were not the same. But the costume designers were the same people. Mm-hmm. The rest of the Doctor Who production team, it's just that basically when they would wrap up production on one, they would then gear up to do production on one of the other series. So, when theory, with Doctor Who lasting 13 episodes, if they had gotten a 4th series started, we pretty much could have had something going on in the Doctor Who universe all year round. They never quite got that far, and they decided that doing 3 series was quite enough, thank you.